right, learner, welcome back to your tailored deep dive. This is for March 20th, 2025.
25.
Yes, of course, 2025.
All right.
And this is part one of your daily UPSC Current Affairs prep.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be tackling a range of really important topics. Some might be familiar from previous deep dives, so think of this as a bit of revision.
Right.
But we're going to make sure that we don't, cover the same ground for any single issue over and over again.
Right.
Our goal today is to unpack these recent developments and give you that solid understanding that you need to excel in your exam.
Absolutely.
And if you find this deep dive helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, we've curated a set of issues that are very much interconnected for you today.
Okay.
So we're going to be going from how we manage wildlife health to significant shifts in international security
Right.
and the regulatory landscape of our economy.
Mm-hmm.
Really seeing these connections, I think, is absolutely crucial for building a comprehensive understanding.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The National Wildlife Health Policy. It seems like a pretty significant step towards better protecting our animal populations.
It is the fact that the government is drafting a dedicated national wildlife health policy, spearheaded by the Central Zoo Authority,
Okay.
indicates a more forward-thinking and integrated strategy for managing diseases in wildlife.
Right.
And what's fascinating from your exam perspective, I think, is its alignment with the National Wildlife Action Plan
Right.
from 2017 to 2031 and its embrace of the One Health approach.
Right. And One Health, for our listeners who might not know this, emphasizes the connection, the crucial link between the health of humans and animals and the environment.
Yeah.
So it feels particularly relevant today, in our interconnected world.
Absolutely. This policy recognizes that interconnectedness, and it aims to bolster our ability to handle what are called zoonotic diseases.
Right.
These are diseases that can transmit between animals and humans,
Right.
a growing concern in our world. And a key development here is the establishment of the National Referral Center for Wildlife in Junagadh, Gujarat.
Okay.
This is going to be India's first specialized hub dedicated to diagnosing and researching diseases in wildlife.
So essentially, it's going to be like a high-tech lab that's investigating the causes behind, animal illnesses and large-scale die-offs.
Precisely. It's going to play a vital role in understanding the patterns and outbreaks of diseases within our wildlife populations.
Okay.
And what's also interesting is the proposed National Wildlife Health Information System.
Okay.
And this system is designed to streamline reporting and monitoring of these diseases. And for your preparation, think about how a robust surveillance system like this can be crucial for early detection and prevention, working in concert with our existing systems for tracking animal diseases.
Okay. And so the Central Zoo Authority is the one who initiated this policy.
Yes.
And we often think of them in the context of zoos.
Yeah.
But their role is actually much broader, right?
Right. It is much broader, you're right, to associate them with the health of animals in zoological parks.
Right.
But the CZA's statutory mandate under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972
Right.
is much wider, encompassing the overall conservation and well-being of wildlife across the country. So their push for this policy reflects a recognition that wildlife health is not confined to zoo enclosures.
Right.
A key question for your UPSC studies is how might this National Wildlife Health Policy impact our biodiversity conservation efforts and our preparedness for future public health challenges stemming from zoonotic diseases?
Yeah, that's a crucial angle to think about.
Absolutely.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit to a pretty intense international issue.
Okay.
The U.S. president invoking the Alien Enemies Act
Right.
in relation to this Tren de Aragua gang. This has some pretty heavy historical significance.
It does. The Alien Enemies Act goes all the way back to 1798 and hasn't been used like this since World War II.
Right.
So the fact that it's being invoked now against a criminal gang signals a really notable shift in how this law is being interpreted.
Right. So for some background for our listeners, this Tren de Aragua gang originated in a Venezuelan prison.
Yeah.
And it's expanded, unfortunately, across Latin America and even into the U.S.
Right.
And they're reportedly involved in all sorts of serious criminal activities.
What's particularly concerning from an international security standpoint is their transnational nature.
Yeah.
And their reported exploitation of vulnerable groups, including Venezuelan migrants.
Right.
The allegations of political connections within Venezuela also add another layer of complexity. The range of their criminal activities is really quite startling. They are involved in drug trafficking, human trafficking, extortion, murder, and kidnapping.
Wow.
So it really highlights the significant threat they're perceived to pose.
And the Alien Enemies Act itself grants the president a lot of authority, right?
A considerable amount.
Yeah, to deport or detain or impose restrictions on individuals who are deemed a national security risk.
Yes, during times of declared war or invasion.
Right, and historically it's always been tied to formal declarations of war, right?
Precisely. So we're talking about things like the War of 1812 and the two world wars.
Yeah, and so the current justification that's being put forward by the U.S. government is that they're sort of relying on this contemporary interpretation of invasion.
Right.
Linking it to issues like illegal immigration and drug trafficking.
And that's a point that has sparked a lot of debate.
Yeah, and I mean, understandably, there are a lot of concerns about, the impact this might have on civil rights.
Of course.
And, the risk of misuse given its history, including the internment camps during World War II.
Those concerns are totally valid and have been raised by legal scholars and politicians alike.
Right.
So while the Supreme Court has said that the act is constitutional,
right,
how it's being applied, and the potential implications for due process
right,
are really critical considerations for any UPSC aspirant analyzing this development. For your exam, I think you need to consider the interplay between national security imperatives, immigration policies, and those fundamental principles of the rule of law in this very specific situation.
Okay. Moving on to more collaborative development, New Zealand has joined India's Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, or IPOI.
Yes.
This sounds like a positive step for, regional stability and cooperation.
It is. New Zealand's decision to join the IPOI underscores a growing international recognition of the importance of a free and open Indo-Pacific, which is at the heart of the initiative's objectives.
Right. And the IPOI was launched by India back in 2019, right?
That's right.
And it builds on the foundation of that earlier SAGR initiative, which stands for Security and Growth for All in the Region from 2015.
Precisely. So the IPOI aims to enhance maritime safety, stability, and development.
Right.
Through a rules-based order.
So it essentially takes those principles of SAGR and applies them to the broader Indo-Pacific maritime space.
Absolutely. And what's important to note for your understanding of international relations is that the IPOI is non-treaty based.
Yeah.
It's a voluntary framework.
Hi.
And it leverages the existing mechanisms of the ASEAN-led East Asia Summit to foster greater collaboration on shared maritime interests. And this approach, it avoids the complexities of establishing, whole new international institutions.
Right.
It allows for a more flexible and adaptable cooperation.
Okay. And the IPOI is structured around 7 key pillars.
Yes.
With different lid countries taking responsibility for certain areas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got the UK and India co-leading on maritime security,
Okay.
Australia and Thailand focusing on maritime ecology,
Okay.
and Germany is leading on capacity building and resource sharing.
Right.
And this division of responsibility allows for the pooling of expertise and resources. And for your UPSC preparation, I really want you to analyze how the IPOI reflects India's strategic vision for the Indo-Pacific.
Okay.
And its commitment to multilateral approaches in addressing these regional challenges.
Okay. Let's turn our focus now to a more localized issue, one that has actually reached the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And this is the situation with Anna Sagar Lake in Rajasthan.
Right.
And it seems to be a case where development has come into conflict with environmental preservation.
That's a recurring challenge that we see globally.
Right.
And the Supreme Court's intervention in the case of Anna Sagar Lake highlights the crucial role of the judiciary in protecting ecologically sensitive areas. Anna Sagar Lake itself is an artificial water body, but it has significant historical roots,
Right.
stretching all the way back to the 12th century.
Yeah, it was built by the grandfather of Prithviraj Khan
Right.
and later enhanced by Mughal rulers with structures like the Baradari pavilions
Yes.
and the Dalit Bagh garden.
Exactly. So its combined historical and ecological significance, I think, really underscores the importance of protecting it. The Supreme Court has directed that replica structures from that wetland area be removed within 6 months. And this emphasizes the importance of adhering to environmental regulations
Right.
and preventing further damage to the lake's ecosystem.
And the lake already experiences seasonal drying.
It does, so that highlights its vulnerability. So for your exam, this case provides a valuable example to consider when analyzing the interplay between tourism, urban development, and the need to preserve our natural and historical heritage.
Okay. On a more dynamic note, The Indian and French navies are gearing up for Exercise Varuna 2025.
Yes.
These bilateral naval exercises must play a crucial role in strengthening strategic partnerships and enhancing interoperability.
Absolutely. Exercise Varuna began all the way back in 1993.
Wow.
And was officially named Varuna in 2001.
Okay.
And it's really become a cornerstone of the strategic partnership between India and France in the maritime domain.
Right.
This upcoming edition, the 23rd edition, is scheduled to take place in the Arabian Sea. It will involve high-intensity training drills spanning subsurface, surface, and aerial operations.
So all aspects of naval warfare.
Indeed. And both countries' aircraft carriers.
Right. The INS Vikrant and the Charles de Gaulle.
Exactly. They will be participating alongside their respective fighter aircraft.
It's a huge show of, commitment.
It really underscores the scale and significance of this exercise.
Yeah.
You'll see advanced air defense exercises, including simulated air-to-air combat between the Rafale-M and MiG-29K aircraft.
Wow.
As well as anti-submarine and surface warfare drills.
Okay.
All designed to enhance tactical coordination and refine combat readiness.
Right.
So these exercises not only build crucial interoperability, but they also send a clear message about the shared commitment to maritime security in the region.
Right.
So when you think about India's strategic partnerships, remember the importance of these kinds of military engagements.
Absolutely. Okay, so this next development sounds a little bit like something out of a science fiction novel.
Okay.
Audible enclaves, creating these little pockets of sound in otherwise noisy environments.
It's a fascinating innovation. This new sound technology essentially manipulates sound waves to create these localized zones where specific audio content can be heard without being audible to those outside that zone.
So how does that even work?
Well, it leverages the principles of how sound waves behave.
Right.
Particularly frequency and diffraction.
Okay.
Higher frequency sound waves tend to spread out less.
Okay, so traditional focused sound systems would utilize high frequency beams, right?
Right.
But what distinguishes audible enclaves from these existing technologies?
It's a more sophisticated approach that uses two inaudible high frequency sound waves.
Okay.
And it's at the point where these two inaudible waves intersect that a perceivable audible sound wave is generated due to nonlinear interactions.
Okay.
So think of it as creating a virtual highly directional speaker in a specific point in space.
So in theory, you could have a private conversation in a crowded marketplace.
That's right.
Or you could have a museum where only the person standing in front of the exhibit could hear the audio guide.
Precisely, the applications are incredibly diverse, ranging from the preservation of natural soundscapes in quiet areas to enhancing immersive experiences in virtual reality environments and ensuring a greater degree of acoustic privacy in public settings.
It's a pretty remarkable development.
It is. It's a novel technological advancement with potentially significant implications across various sectors.
Yeah, well, it might seem like a niche application now. It could have a huge impact on communication privacy.
Absolutely.
Even environmental management.
Through sound.
Okay, let's move on to the realm of market regulation. And this is the Competition Commission of India, conducting raids on some major players in the media and advertising industry. This concerns IPL ad raids.
Yeah. It's a significant intervention. The CCI's actions targeting Group M Dentsu IPG media brands and the Indian Broadcasting and Digital Foundation underscore its critical role as India's primary antitrust regulator.
Working to ensure fair competition and prevent practices that could harm the market.
And the CCI itself was established in 2009, replacing that earlier MRTP Act.
Exactly.
And this shift was intended to align India's regulatory framework with our more liberalized economic environment.
Precisely, this transition mirroring broader economic reforms like the move from FARA to FEMA. Aimed to create a more market-oriented and competitive economy. The CCI's core mandate includes preventing anti-competitive agreements such as cartels and price fixing, regulating the abuse of dominant market positions, scrutinizing mergers and acquisitions, and safeguarding consumer interests.
And we've seen the CCI take action in the past. With penalties levied against companies like Google and investigations into Apple.
Exactly.
This investigation into IPL ad rates shows their focus on a wide spectrum of industries. Indeed, The alleged fixing of advertising rates and discounts for a high-profile event like the Indian Premier League is a serious matter, as it could distort the advertising market and negatively impact advertisers. The CCI, with its quasi-judicial powers and expertise in law, economics, and finance, plays a vital role in maintaining a level playing field for businesses and ensuring that consumers benefit from fair competition. This ongoing investigation serves as a timely reminder of the importance of effective competition law enforcement in a dynamic economy.
Absolutely. Okay, turning to some international developments in the nuclear sector, the IAEA director has recently commended India's expanding nuclear program as one of the most dynamic globally.
It's a significant recognition. The International Atomic Energy Agency is the preeminent global forum for nuclear cooperation, and it plays a crucial role in promoting the safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology worldwide. So their assessment of India's nuclear sector as being among the most dynamic
highlights the progress and the potential within our nuclear program.
And the IAEA operates as an autonomous organization within the United Nations system, right?
That's right. Guided by the principle of atoms for peace and development. It has a long history, established in 1957, with India as one of its founding member states. The IAEA structure comprises the General Conference, the Board of Governors, and the Secretariat, headed by the Director General. This structure ensures comprehensive oversight and governance of its multifaceted activities. The agency's functions are broad, encompassing the promotion of nuclear safety and security, the implementation of nuclear safeguards to prevent proliferation, particularly in the context of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and the provision of assistance to member states in developing peaceful nuclear applications. For your UPSC preparation, understanding the IAEA's mandate and India's engagement with this organization in the nuclear domain is really essential. Okay, moving to a more sensitive domestic issue, we have news of leaders from the Hmar and Zumi communities in Manipur reaching an agreement to work together to restore peace.
Yes, following those recent clashes.
This underscores the complex ethnic tapestry of the Northeast, doesn't it?
It does. The Northeast region of India is characterized by its rich and diverse ethnic landscape. And understanding the interrelationships between different communities is vital for anyone studying the region.
And the terms Zumi and Hmar represent these broad ethnic groupings with their own distinct identities, histories, cultural practices.
But also sharing certain linguistic and ancestral connections rooted in the Tibeto-Burman linguistic family. The Zumi are an umbrella term encompassing various groups like the Chin, the Mizo, and the Kuki, with populations extending across India's northeast as well as parts of Myanmar and Bangladesh. The Hmar community primarily resides in several northeastern states within India. What's important to remember for your understanding of social issues in India is that while these communities may share some historical and cultural links, they also maintain their own unique social structures, languages, and traditions. The recent agreement reached by their leaders in the Churachandpur district of Manipur to work towards peace is a significant and positive step, emphasizing the critical need for dialogue, mutual understanding, and reconciliation in addressing intercommunity tensions in the region.
And for our listeners who are preparing for their exams, it's crucial to be aware of the ethno-social dynamics of the Northeast and the factors that can contribute to both conflict and peace-building initiatives.
Absolutely.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the Foreign Exchange Management Act, or FEMA. This is a cornerstone piece of legislation governing India's economic interactions with the rest of the world, particularly in our increasingly globalized economy.
It is FEMA, enacted in 1999 and came into force in 2000, marked a significant departure from that earlier, more restrictive Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, or FARA. Its introduction was a direct response to India's program of economic liberalization, with the primary aims of facilitating external trade and payments and ensuring the orderly development and maintenance of India's foreign exchange market.
So FEMA provides the legal framework for the regulation and management of foreign exchange in India. But with a more liberal approach compared to FARA.
Absolutely.
And the Reserve Bank of India plays a key role in formulating the regulations under FEMA.
Exactly. FEMA's key objectives include regulating foreign exchange transactions, liberalizing foreign exchange policies to promote greater integration with the global economy, and empowering the Reserve Bank of India to oversee and regulate the foreign exchange market.
Okay.
A significant difference between FEMA and its predecessor is that contraventions under FEMA are treated as civil offenses,
Right.
as opposed to the criminal offenses under FARA, reflecting a more business-friendly regulatory environment. FEMA has a broad scope of applicability covering Indian residents both within India and abroad, as well as non-resident Indians, or NRIs,
Right.
and overseas companies with a significant proportion of NRI ownership.
Okay.
The Enforcement Directorate is the primary agency responsible for investigating violations of FEMA with potential penalties, including monetary fines and the seizure of assets.
Right. So for our listeners, preparing for the UPSC, understanding the provisions of FEMA is crucial.
It is.
For grasping the legal and regulatory landscape governing India's engagement with the global economy.
Absolutely. It underpins all aspects of cross-border trade, foreign investment, and international financial flows involving India.
Right.
Consider how FEMA's objectives and enforcement mechanisms contribute to the stability and growth of the Indian economy in an increasingly interconnected world.
Okay, that brings us to the end of your deep dive into these current affairs for March 20th, 2025, Part 1.
Yes.
We've covered so much today.
We have.
From the specifics of wildlife health policy to the complexities of international crime, strategic geopolitical initiatives, and the nuances of our economic regulations.
Yes, a very broad range of topics.
And we hope this detailed breakdown has given you some clarity and valuable insights to help you prepare for your UPSC exam.
Absolutely.
As you continue studying, we really encourage you to think about how these seemingly different issues are all interconnected and how they paint a bigger picture of those national and global trends.
Right.
What stands out to you as particularly significant or maybe needing a little bit more exploration on your own?
Yeah. What do you want to learn more about?
Right. Think about how these topics might be framed in your exam questions, both for the prelims and the mains.
It's important to be able to answer different types of questions.
Right, and we strongly encourage you to delve a little deeper into any of these areas that maybe sparked your interest.
Exactly. Go down those rabbit holes.
Yes, and if you found this session helpful, please remember to like and subscribe for more of these targeted deep dives.
We'll be back with more.
All right, till next time.
Happy studying.
Bye.